Hello, everyone, and welcome to the UnX Network's presentation of Paranormal Experienced with your host, Kat Hobson. Tonight, Cash McCallum, Rick McCallum, and Vandy, we hope, will make it back in. She's had a little technical difficulty here, but we're trying to get her back in. So, without any further to do, sorry we're late, folks, but that's live radio. Here's your host, your intrepid host, Kat Hobson. Kat?
Welcome. I'm so glad that y'all are here. I am just really excited about doing tonight's show. I am wearing my Hollywood Ghosthunters shirt in honor of my guests tonight. I am a huge friend of Rick McCallum. He is one of my best friends. Probably, best guy friend for sure. I have been fortunate enough to hear his experiences over time, and I have always loved hearing about the family home they had in Texas. Rick has been to paranormal sites, world famous, really outrageously haunted places, private places. He has been, as I said, all over the world. He is truly into the paranormal. He's the founder of Hollywood Ghosthunters. He has been in 70 some odd films. He is a stunt coordinator after decades of work as a stuntman. He is brilliant. Y'all know him. You love him. Who doesn't, right? And he is bringing his family members. His brother Cash is Cash McCallum. He's a realtor. He is in, I just lost my mind, Idaho or Utah. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Cash. And Santa Clarita, which is one of my favorite places on the planet. He was a kickboxing world champion, heavyweight division. He was just last year inducted into their Hall of Fame. He is a dad, and he also had enough of the paranormal, however, when they lived in that house. Rick just, continued with that. Cash was like, I'm just going to go kick some butt around the world today. So Vandy, when she comes in, is their stepmother. And she is a wonderful, wonderful person. I have been hearing about their history for a very long time. And I'm excited to be welcoming these people to this show because as a unit, as well as individually, they're all special. And their history in this house is unbelievable. If it were not Rick McCallum who told me about this, I would go, get out of town. But it was. So without further ado, let's bring them on. Hello, Rick McCallum, and hello, Cash McCallum.
Hello.
Yo. Thank y'all for being here.
What's up, Kat? What's up, bro?
Not a lot. Just all this excitement with having y'all on and finally getting to hear about this house in Texas because I've heard about it. People who have heard Rick on other shows, as well as this one, have heard about it. But, there's just so much that was going on there that I don't even know what that was like. Okay. And we've got Lori Dorsey in chat. Hi, Lori. And, I know that people that I shared this show with were like, the McCallum brothers. And I'm like, oh, him, I see, But thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, Rick, I always get worried when you sit with your arms crossed like that. Man, I am in so much trouble. So
no, I am. Vandy's going to kick my ass.
Well, she knows where you live.
Oliver's going to beat on me when she sees me.
Well, at least it won't go above your belly button.
I hope it does.
Maybe she'll get a ladder.
I'm just going to blame Cash. Let him take care of it.
I'm used to it. It's all right.
No, that's all right. I could
That
see
was
that.
always my go-to move. Blame Cash.
Well, I have a little, so I completely understand that.
Right.
But, well, I have to ask you, Cash, I know that you're doing a podcast now.
I am.
Cash Talks, right?
Cash Talks. Yeah.
I've seen that. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're just kind of kicking it off taking a start of it here just recently, about 6 episodes. And
yeah,
of course I had my infamous ghost hunting world renowned brother in there, and it was great.
That was a good show, but you're a realtor.
I'm a realtor. Yeah.
And you have all kinds of different insights on several topics. So it makes it fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure does. There's a lot to share with people. So
yeah,
why not? Right.
Well, I know that when my husband had bought several properties before we reunited, we separated for a while. And of course, because we're meant to be, there you go. We're still here.
Love it.
So it is awesome. It's a good story.
Yeah.
But so I didn't have a lot of experience with that. But I'm just really glad that I didn't buy the house that y'all lived in. Have you had I want to know, have you had any other haunted locations in
my real estate world and transactions? Yeah, I've come across some places that had some interesting things happening in them. And
so it wasn't just the Texas house.
Well, no, not for me. I mean, the Texas house is just like, that's the world heavyweight champion of scary houses. Okay. Right.
Said he who would know, right?
So nothing else really compares. It's kind of like a little, it's nothing, but I have picked up and detected a couple of things in some other houses I've been in here and there, but nothing like the Texas house, not even close. No.
So Rick, you've been everywhere haunted.
Yeah, there's been quite a few places I've been haunted.
I know, right?
I figured out the other day I've been to about 70 of the most iconic locations around. So I've hit them up, most of them.
Well,
but we've ghost hunted together. You've seen some weird stuff when we're together too. So
I have, right?
And I'm not just talking about Lori Dorsey. I'm just talking about the other weird stuff.
Well, we're all that person, right? That's why we're friends. So, but we have had some, but to my credit, I have never had to hide behind you. So I don't
because I'm already hiding behind Lori.
Who is an intrepid warrior and takes care of both of us. So, how old were y'all when y'all lived in this house when you moved into it?
I was 27. Cash, I believe, was about 13.
13, yeah.
Oh, fun age. They just came at you for fun.
Yeah, they did, and they did that. Yeah.
Well, he would aggravate them. He would try and stir them up, and then they would. Cash. Oh yeah.
I can't believe you're lying on your brother.
All right, I got to tell you the first story. seeing as we talked it up. Vandy was in the kitchen cooking, and
this is the first time y'all saw.
No, this is just one of the times Cash decided to stir some stuff up with the ghosts, and he comes over to me and he goes, "You always say the ghosts like you and stuff like that." And he goes like this. He goes, "Yeah, have him get me." And he slaps me in the back of the head. And he takes off running.
Oh.
Right? Well, he goes running through the kitchen and he comes back around the other way and I'm chasing him and he goes running again. Now, when you have the dining room, you always have that one extra chair against the wall.
Yeah.
For dinners and
just
stuff
whatever.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, he's running and he turns around to look at me and I swear I saw it. The chair lifted up off the ground and flew across right in front of the door thing. And he turns around and he hits it. And he goes flying face first onto the ground. And he goes sliding right up to where Vandy's cooking. And Vandy goes.
Yeah, I did the big splot too in the kitchen. But yeah, that really happened. That's a true story. 100%.
Yeah, but he was safe though when he landed and did the slide.
Well, there you go. Yeah. As long as you stick the landing, you've got that.
Yeah, I saw the chair come up, and this wasn't because he'd run by there before. We'd run through there 100 times through different things we were doing. This didn't just go, it went whoop and went over to where he toppled over it.
I just don't even know what to say to that, because that to me, that is just like, I don't know. to actually have a manifestation occur like that, targeting you, and you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty intense.
So maybe I could shed a little light on that. So I moved in to they were already there, right? They already moved in. I came in late behind everybody. And they were telling me that the house has got a lot of interesting things going on in this house, right? So I was pretty scared just getting there, right? At 13 years old, I'm going, this is really scary. And they were scaring me with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I was moving to a house in Texas.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And there was one when
They were just yanking you from the get-go.
They were driving me there from where? Idaho, Rick, was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember where it was from, but we went through a little town. We running out of gas, I think it was, in Rome, Texas. And they actually started driving off.
Town.
Yeah, they left me outside and started driving off and left me. And they were telling me about, this is where I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre happened, right here at that gas station over there. So they were very playful. They messed around. They're always poking fun at me and all that kind of thing, you know. So, and then I thought they were joking about this haunted house. I just thought it was another, you know, they're trying to scare me and trick me and this and that. Like, no, when you get to this house, you're going to see some interesting things happen. And sure enough, it did. So I thought at first maybe they were playing with me and messing around with me. And then it quickly became evident that was not the case. They weren't messing with me.
Stuff got real is what you're saying.
It got real. Yeah.
I got to clean up his story a little bit. When the car stopped, we were way up on a hill. Okay. And we were trying to get the car down to the gas station so they could fix it. And he and I were pushing it.
You didn't? Okay.
We were both pushing the car. Well, the car gets farther down the hill and it takes off, right? Well, I go running and I jump into the car. I open the door and I jump in.
Yeah.
And me and the old man are looking and he's running behind us.
Oh my gosh.
And it was dark and foggy and scary and Texas and
it was like a horror movie. I was waiting for something to fly out on him and get him.
Yeah.
Hey, if I thought RA was coming behind me, I'd be moving too.
Yeah,
right. I don't worry about it. You know, all the killers are friends of mine.
I was gonna say, but you know, all the killers are his friends. Yeah. So, and he's been one himself.
When I go to Camp Crystal Lake, I said, "Yeah, Kane won't kill me." So
it might mess you up a little bit.
We didn't leave him there. It was just that because he was younger, he couldn't keep up with the car going. Right, we couldn't stop the car because we had to get it to roll down the hill.
I think that was a Lincoln, right? Mark IV.
That story, right?
Big old Lincoln, yeah.
Big old Lincoln. It just took off like a cruise ship.
And there's no docking those babies either when you get to a certain point.
They're just, and I'm looking out the rearview mirror, and here's Cash. He's like, "Oh, they're leaving." It's like, oh man.
Oh my God. Yes, I could totally see that, and I could totally see you laughing about that.
The kid.
Did you tell her about our fat artist that was living there, the big 400-pound artist?
No. I did not tell him about the big 400-pound artist.
Okay. I don't know anything about an artist.
Yeah, his name was Giovanni, and he was 400 pounds, and he was a little on the far side of reality a lot of times.
Yeah,
and one night,
all my artist friends are going to stop watching now. Go ahead.
Alienate
everybody.
You know, my dad had in his windows in his bedroom, he had these long windows that went up, you know, from the floor up.
Yeah.
And we were sleeping in different parts of that room because there was people all over the place. And I hear, "Oh, oh, oh, oh." And it sounded like a seal. I don't know if Cash was in there or not. And I looked in there and Giovanni was trying to crawl in the window and he was stuck.
Oh my.
So I had to pull him out of there, and he'd had a drink or two and he wanted to wrestle, right? I don't know if Cash was in there for that or not either. And he charges me, and I picked him up into the fireman's carry and threw him on the bed, and the bed went, the legs underneath it just went flat, and I went, "Oh boy."
Yeah.
Right? But Giovanni used to chase Cash around, and Cash, I will tell you, you couldn't catch him. No. I mean, he was like the Flash.
I was sweet. Yeah, I could jump over stuff, no problem.
Yeah, he'd dive roll. I mean, you couldn't catch him.
So, Kat, it was an interesting dynamic in the house that we all lived in together. Besides the ghosts, it was just a very interesting show anyways, right? with Giovanni, and he was doing bronze work in our garage. So he had a studio set up in there. And he's just this large guy walking around our house. And then my dad, he was flamboyant. He was a show producer. He was just this, just a funny guy, playful kind of guy. And then, my brother, then I got him in there and then tossed me into the mix. Right. And I'm just like,
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Right.
I wonder Vandy let any of y'all live.
and Vandy in there, the dancer, she was 14 times or 17 times national dance champion and all these kind of things.
She did ballroom, right?
And ballroom, yeah.
Yeah.
Ballroom dance champion. Yeah, she's great.
And I'll give you another
backwards in high heels.
She was one of the first twirlers for the Cowboys.
That's right.
I forgot
Although
about
I don't
that.
think they were the Cowboys at the time. I think they were the Dallas Texans before they. So
I don't know.
I don't remember before they were the Cowboys.
Yeah, they actually the Dallas Texans actually went to Kansas City, I think, became the Chiefs. But yeah.
Is that why the baseball team is the Texans? Who's the Texans? They're still the Texans team.
Yeah.
Is that baseball?
The Houston Texans came in. So they got the Houston Texans. But yeah, Giovanni was he liked to torment Cash.
Again, the ghost, Giovanni, my dad, my brother. This is why I got into the fight business.
I see that. You were already a champion before you ever got there. So when you did get there, did you? I'm going to back up because I want to try to get this straightened out, because if I'm not following it perfectly, other people might not be too. But when did you, Rick, because you were already there, was the house already acting out with Vandy and Mark before you got there?
Well, I was there before Vandy.
Okay. Well, was it?
Yeah, I'll tell you how it got started. I drove down from Chicago with a friend of mine, Tom. And when we got there, my dad and this guy, Wally, had been drinking, and they were all sitting in the living room. And they said, okay, because it was Wally's birthday. And they said, all right, well, we're going to drive back to the bar so he can get his car. And I'm thinking, well, that's a great idea. Take the drunk guy to get his car so he can drive home.
While you're both drunk.
But off they go. And I asked my dad, because it was late, I said, hey, where can I sleep? And he goes, take the front bedroom there. So they all leave. I go in and it's a girl's room, because it's got, the canopy bed and, the frills and everything else. So I lay down, and there's moonlight coming in from the foot of the bed. Everybody's gone out of the house. And it's my first night there. And I'm just sitting there, and I lay back, and I hear, what the hell was that? Right? Nothing. So I lay back down, and I hear even louder. So I thought to myself, does he have a dog? Maybe the dog's under the bed. So I get out and look under the bed, open up the closet door. There's nothing there. And I lay down, and it does it again. And I look up, and there's a air conditioning duct right up here. And I thought, oh, it's the air conditioner turning off. Then I went, it doesn't turn off 3 times, right? So I'm sitting up, and I'm looking out the window to see if I can see anything. And right here on my neck, right here, very loud with the heat, went right on my neck. I jumped out of bed, turned around, trying to get out the door, but it had one of them little slider locks on. Couldn't find it. I just grabbed the door, and I went snap and busted the frame out and went outside. I'm standing outside for like 5 minutes, and here comes my dad and Tom. And my dad gets out of the car, and he walks over. And my dad lived on a cul-de-sac. And he looks at me, and he goes, he got you, didn't he?
Oh, my gosh.
And I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, ha. I said, you know about that? And he goes, he does it all the time. And he actually did it to Vandy also. I don't know if Cash ever got the old. Yeah, Cash got it too. Yeah, they made themselves very aware of being there. I mean, there were so many different things that happened out there. I'll tell you one more that was just really interesting. We have this great big Great Dane, just huge dog, Tubby. And everybody was out of the house, and I'm sitting there cross-legged watching TV. And, Tubby was stuck to me half the time because I saved him from getting done in.
He was huge.
But, of course, he tried to eat Cash twice, but that's another story.
Yeah, I have a question about that later.
Yeah, but what was really weird was that he's laying there sleeping, and I'm sitting cross-legged. I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden he turns over and he's sitting. His ears go down and his eyes go down, and he goes. And now here's this dog that's like 180 pounds, and he's like 6 feet
Was
from me.
he facing you?
He was looking at me, and I'm like, Tubby, it's me. Tubby. I figure I'm gonna have to duke it out with this dog. I'm sitting down, and he's so I'm going, Tubby, it's me, and he's still just going right, and he looked like a tiger. I mean, that's when his ears go down and their eyes.
Yes, I do know that look.
And when they get that growl, it's way down here, and I'm like, oh crap, right? And then I'm looking at him, and I realize that he's not looking exactly at me. He's looking over my shoulder. And I went, must be a burglar back there. And I went, get him, Tubby. And he went, I mean, he went like a flash past me, right? So I figured he was somebody there. So I jumped up to go help him. And I swear to God, he's on the back of his feet, jumping up, and his paws. That was a big dog. I mean, he was my height standing up. He's going, I mean, biting and clawing and everything at the air. So I'm just standing there watching, and he drops down to all fours, and he looks around. And then finally he turns around, he looks at me, and he goes, okay, we're good. And he comes back to me, and I'm like, holy shit.
And yet,
yeah,
you were still there when he turned around. I mean, there's a time to stay there and get his back, and there's a time to take advantage of him getting you some time.
No, I got to stick with my dog. I'm not leaving him to the bad.
Well, you know me, I'm not going to go off without my dogs, but they're not fighting things I can't see either. Plus, they're short.
Well, Cash, tell me what happened with Tubby the first day you were there.
Well, was this because I understand you jumped a 6-foot fence at some point?
With a little help from my brother throwing me over the fence from playing a little basketball in the backyard there in the driveway. So I'm just new to the house. Now, this is more of a modern, newer looking home, single story. It was a nice looking home. As I was driving there with them in the car from going to Texas and all these horror stories I'm hearing about, I'm thinking this has got to be some beat up, ugly, like, old house or something, right? Like, the quintessential horror house, right? Well,
right.
That didn't sound right, did it?
I knew what you meant. It's all good.
Yeah. So I get there and it's a nice house. I'm going, these guys are full of it. They're jerking me around again, right? So my brother and I out the next day or two, we're playing basketball in the driveway, and I spit on you, didn't I? Yeah, you pissed me off. I spit on you or something. I was 13, right? So he picks me up and throws me over the fence. It's about 6 feet tall, wood fence. I go into the backyard. I land in the backyard. I think it was pretty much my first time in this backyard. And the Great Dane comes over and bites me and drags me through the yard. And I'm kicking. Oh, my God. So here's where the horror starts.
He had your head, right?
Huh?
He had your head, right?
Yeah. Was that time in the head or the ribs? I couldn't remember.
No, he got the second time. I don't know where he bit you because I couldn't see you. There was a fence in the way.
The first time was the head. The second time was the ribs. He got me.
The first time he came over, the first day he was there, we're throwing the ball in the backyard, and football goes over, and I go to pick it up, and he comes over and tackles me, tries to tackle me, and he goes over and he lands on the ground. I reach down to get the ball, and I hear him screaming, and Tubby's got him by the head, right, and he's dragging him backwards, right. I'm going, Tubby, let him go. It's
like a Jaws movie, a scene out of Jaws. So
finally, I finally get him loose and I pick him up, right? I'm going, Cash, it's okay. It's okay. He just saw you. He thought you were trying to attack me. And he chomps on his ribs like a great white shark and starts shaking him. Right? Yeah. I had to kick him to get him loose, right? And Cash went into flee mode. He was inside the house within about 4 seconds. And,
and he saw the opportunity and he took it.
That's right.
Cash isn't stupid. He saw an opening and boom. Went for the touchdown.
A little bit later that day, I'm in the backyard, and I meet the neighbors over the fence, and they're like, "Wow, you guys have been here longer than anybody has." And I think you guys had only been there for what, a month or two or something, or 3 at the time.
3 months.
3 months,
wow.
Yeah. And I was like, "What? 3 months? We're the longest?" Yeah. People usually just move in here and move out. So that didn't sound good. So nice looking modern house. No. I'm starting to get a little creeped out here, right?
Yeah, there was
no doubt.
Yeah, there was some.
I would have been questioning that decision.
Yeah,
there's a lot of really weird things. I'll tell you one that's really weird. My dad's office had windows that went from the floor They were about this wide and went up to the top, right? And every night I would go along and I would lock all the doors. And in the morning, most of them were just wide open, right? So, and my dad was a freak about locking doors. I think Cash was too, but they'd just be open. But what happened was I went to turn off all the lights and everything else. I don't think Cash was there then. But I went over there and I turned out the light, and the moonlight's coming in the back window. And I see a head with horns, and I go, ah! And I flip on the light, and it's Tubby, you know, the Great Dane with the ears, right? And I'm like, right? And because all I saw was the silhouette of him. And I turn off the light, and I start to turn around to walk out of the room, and I hear behind me. And I was like, keep walking. Just keep walking. So, I mean,
yep.
Stuff like that happened all the time.
You know, Kat, I should have said starting out here with this, being in real estate and everything, I got to say, in full disclosure, before I go any further with these conversations, I'm not crazy. Okay. I'm not crazy. And I'm not making any of this up. I know Rick's not, because this is not his style anyways, but
I trust you.
No. And matter of fact, Rick, I've not really told a lot of people about this, maybe some personal friends or family. And that's about it. I don't want people to think I'm nuts. Right. I don't think you have you, bro? I don't think you've really come onto a podcast.
You wrote 2 books. Yeah.
It's in my book.
Those are recent, I guess, but
it's in one of my books that you didn't read.
Well, I didn't have to. I know the story, kind of lived it, but I mean, you haven't gone on a podcast or anything yet and then told anybody, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have?
People. Yeah.
About the Texas house. Okay. Well,
yeah, but not with anybody.
Not in full detail and not with backup.
This is what happens when Great Danes bite you in the head. Okay. You get a little forgetful. Twice.
Yeah.
Well, but one of the things that I think you're safe, Cash, because this stuff, it's become mainstream, and people are very honest now about experiences that they've had.
Right.
And so, our friend Jay Bloomkey, started Ghost Hunters and got people talking about this. And then, Rick's been on the Ghost Adventures show, which I don't have anything against Zach Bagans. I know that he was a theater major, however. So when he first started, I was just kind of like, he knows a lot of techniques, and then places that he went that I knew, I recognized the experiences that he was having, and they had not been publicized to my knowledge. So I was just kind of like, okay. And then Rick and I became friends, and he was like, no, he's awesome. Yeah, he's really a good guy. And I said, well, I haven't met him, but okay. But I really think that between those shows and then, of course, everything that spun off from all that, I was on a show called Portals to Hell, which I cringe at the name, but it was a good show. It really, the show I was on was not interested in making things happen. They were interested in what happened.
Okay.
And then they went as a group, even the production staff investigated.
Right.
And that was actually, I was at the old Potting jail, and that's the first place that Jack Osborne was touched by a ghost, and he almost had a conniption fit. Wow. It was something else. He was coming out of that chair, Jack. And, but things do happen, and places do have spirits. When we were in Scotland, Rick, there were places that had spirits that had been there for multiple generations. And so probably one of the reasons that we are kind of new to the game here is that our history and our structures are not that old. There hasn't been that much living and dying in them yet. But there's still an awful lot in the U.S. that blows my mind. I mean, that old Potting jail I mentioned, that place rocked my thought process.
Well,
so
I got to interject here because something happened at the old Paulding jail that I've never seen before. And you know what I'm going to say.
I do.
And Laurie was there.
And
Kat
Mikey's in chat too. He was
like
there.
Kat had been on the TV show about being at Old Paulding, but she couldn't come to this ghost hunt. So I don't know why I thought up. I said, let's call Kat and see if they'll interact with her. So we called her on the phone, and we were using our equipment, and it was all going off when she would talk to it. She would say, well, do you know this? And it would answer. And we're like, holy crap. Kat's the only person I know who can call a ghost on the phone.
I talk to them, though, because like when I get there, I go into the first cell floor block, and I say, hey, it's Kat. I'm back. I'm so glad to see y'all. And I'm going to be investigating, and I'm going to be here for however long I'm going to be there, because a friend of mine owns it. So when I go, and it's a 9-hour drive. So when I go, I try to stay. But, you know, what really, because they're used to me because I really pissed them off the first time I was there not as an investigator, but as a radio host. But anyway, they got really mad, as they should. But I was mad too. So that energy was just like crazy. But when we were doing that conversation though, Rick, it was because we weren't FaceTiming. It was just voice because, you know, of limited service there. But it was so awesome because that was validation that they don't hate me. Okay.
Well, they jumped right in there and just started.
Yeah. But I talk to them all the time. I talk to them when I'm there. If Shelly has her portal going, we have conversations. That flipped her husband out when I did that. We were getting ready for a picnic, and I was slicing and dicing with him, getting ready to grill. And the portal was running. So I was talking to Vincent. The ghosts were talking. I was talking to the ghosts. I mean, it was just like, those ghosts are cool ghosts.
Well, I got to tell Cash something about that place, Old Paulding Jail. I've been there, obviously, to ghost hunt. And there's a sheriff there because it was a jail. And evidently they were having some sort of dust up. And they kept getting on the voice recording, get Rick. The sheriff's voice going, get Rick.
Yeah.
But I wasn't there.
There was a spirit they couldn't contain.
Yeah.
And they wound up binding it. And it broke its bindings. So, which is the first time I've heard of that happening. But yeah, they needed backup.
Well, you know what I'm thinking about, and I've thought about this for a long time, but I don't want to go. I don't want to go back to that house because, from what I understand, it's an older gentleman, and I don't want to scare him.
And we weren't even talking about where it was. So I just put a haunted Texas road. And it was
Texas is a big place. If you're going to go knock on doors, it's going to take you a while.
Here a while.
But anyway, I would really like to go back there and do a documentary about that place because we haven't even scratched the surface of some of the stuff that happened. I'll tell you one of the ones that happened while Cash was there. We had put a heavy bag and a speed bag into the garage.
Oh, okay.
And my bedroom was all the way on the other side of the place. It was built like an H. Right, there was a bedroom in the office, and then
like the different wings.
Then my dad's room and Vandy's room and the garage, and then there was the kitchen and the living room. And Cash would be sleeping in the living room most of the time. And one night, about 2 a.m, I hear thump, 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 thump. Somebody punching the heavy bag, which was right near my dad's place. And I thought, oh my goodness, the old man's going to kick Cash's ass, right? So I get up to go out there and say, hey, dude, chill out. And as I get up, he's walking towards me and he says, there's somebody in the garage. Right? Now we're like, huh?
No doubt.
Yeah. So we go over there. Just as we get there, here comes my dad and Vandy popping out. My dad's got a gun and we're standing there. And we all rush in.
Good thing it wasn't Cash.
Yeah, it wasn't Cash. Cash was one of the rushers in. So we had everybody there. And, when people are hitting a heavy bag, this thing was going back and forth like this, like a metronome. It's going.
So it had enough oomph so that it could get the bag dancing?
Yeah, it was doing this when we walked in there, which tells you something had been moving it around.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and we started to walk out. And as we walked out, it went to swing back, and you heard thud, and it stopped dead center in the middle. And we all saw, I was like, okay. So we started to walk out, and I was the last one leaving. And as we walked out, the speed bag was up on the wall. And just as I walked past it, it went, something hit it behind me as we walked out. And it was like,
jump scare. Jump scare. Yeah.
Yeah. My old man looks over at us and he goes, let the dog in. So, yeah, but when you see things that move and, something stop it, it's just things, chairs flying, things moving, speed bags moving,
well, especially appropriately. I mean, the chair moved with purpose to take you out, Cash.
Yeah.
And then
Cash asked for it.
Well, yeah, but
he
still,
said, come on, ghost, get me, and then they did.
Bada boom, bada bing. Careful what you ask for.
Curious. Yeah.
Didn't know they're going to throw chairs at me.
I got to tell you, Kat, I was going to tell you when I first got there, and then went through the experience with the dog in the backyard, and the neighbor telling me about everyone's moving out of that house all the time. We've been there longer than anybody. One of the first or second nights I was sleeping there in the house in my dad's room, he had a couch that folded out into a bed. They didn't have a bed quite set up for me or something. So I was sleeping on this fold out bed, and he had a large master bedroom. And then everybody was out in the living room. I went into the bedroom to go to sleep. Right. And I had a sleeping bag. So I was on this fold out bed on the couch in a sleeping bag. I fell asleep, and I have had the worst nightmare there I've had my entire life. I've never had anything that even comes close to topping the nightmare I had in that house that night. And I don't even know if I think I told Rick about it a long time ago, but I'm sleeping in my bed. I didn't know if I was awake or asleep or what I was, kind of in that state. Right. But I'm the sleeping bag's over my head, the whole thing. Right. Cause I'm so scared in there. And this could have been just that I was so afraid that it was my mind playing tricks on me. I wasn't sure, but as I'm sleeping there, I'm hearing the voices come around my sleeping bag, right? And they're coming from all directions, and they're saying this and that, and little wish sounds and these things. And my heart is just pounding. And I actually got on the bed. I stood up in my sleeping bag, and I dove off the bed, and I landed. It hurt too. It was, carpet, but there's cement under that carpet, and I smashed on the ground. I got out of the bag. I woke up finally, and I got out of the bag, and I was just dripping sweat. Dripping sweat.
Gosh.
Yeah, that was the worst nightmare I've ever had. I've never had anything close to that since then. So
that place was just, that's what I'm saying. It'd be a great documentary to go back there and see if they're still there. And there was actually, which Vandy wanted to talk about. Vandy was the one that would mostly see the spirits. And there were 3 of them.
Yeah.
And they would walk through the front window and go right through the living room, through the dining room where the chair tripped Cash, and out the back window. And you could see the translucent, you could see the shape. You could see them going. You'd be like,
was it a shape or was it a shimmer?
It was kind of a shimmer. Yeah, just kind of
shimmery shape, maybe.
Yeah, it was 3 shapes that,
I'd seen it. I'd seen it before too. I'd seen those.
Yeah.
That's what I usually see. I don't usually see full body, but I do see the shimmering. It's not always a people shape.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes it's a column shape, but
these were people walking.
Yeah.
I mean, one in a row, one after the other. And
that's
weird story about that was, we used to do the home shows and everything, and we were down in Texas, and I was talking to this guy. I won't say his name, but I was talking about where we lived and stuff like that. And he says, I got a place up there too. It's kind of haunted. And I said, yeah, ours is too. I said, the doors are always open in the morning and, all kinds of stuff. And he goes, do you live at, and he tells me my address. And I went,
whoa,
what?
You didn't tell me about this. I've never heard
of it.
And
I said, what? Right. And he goes, yeah, he says the story that he had heard, his house was kind of a really big house. Right? He was pretty successful at what he did. And it had hidden rooms and hidden hallways and everything else in it. And he said that back in the Bonnie and Clyde days, these gangsters lived in this house.
Your house?
No, in his house.
His house.
And they were really, rotten people. And finally, every time the cops would go to get him, they couldn't find him because all the hidden rooms and everything, right? Finally, one day, the townspeople saw him and chased him up the hill, right? They went running and they chased him up the hill and they caught him and supposedly they hung him. Now, I wasn't there. I haven't, I just telling you the stories that I've heard. But supposedly they hung him in our backyard. So those two houses were linked. So we decided to try a thing, right? He says, I see the three of them walking all the time too. And I said, well, call me the next time they leave your front door, when they walk out of your place, right? So we're sitting there, me and Vandy. I don't know if Cash was there. The old man was there. Phone rings. This guy goes, yeah, they just left, right? So we sat there and we turned around. We're watching and right through
So like a dimensional portal thing.
Yeah, that they were linked between the two. I'd really like to be able to get in there and get somebody to go see if they could find what really happened. That might be what really happened. But the fact that he knew our address and we'd never even met him.
Yeah, you could probably research that. You're a writer.
Yeah, but I'm not a researcher.
I'm a researcher.
See, that was my point.
Finishing the book, but I'm a researcher. I can do that.
That was my point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, well, I'll tell you who else. Vandy had quite a bit to tell you.
I know, right? She did text me. She's tried to get in on her phone and it's not functioning.
The first time she came down there, she was sitting on the big couch that they had. And my dad had one of these big wicker throne chairs.
I remember those.
And Vandy will tell you right then, she goes, I'm watching and I see the cushion go like somebody sat down.
Yeah.
So she says, Mark, look, the cushion just went down. And they're both looking and the chair goes, how you go like this to move it back? The chair goes backwards up against the wall. And they're both sitting there watching it. So the other thing that used to happen with it, whenever she would go back, because she lived in Oklahoma, she would always go out and there was these two lights that were on the driveway right on the corner of the house. Yeah. And she'd walk out and she'd go, bye. And it'd go blink, blink. Every time she came out, she would wave goodbye, blink, blink.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So she also had something happen in the old man's bedroom. She got the from him. And another time she was looking up and she saw, I'm not sure, we'll have to ask her if we can ever catch up to her sometime. But she saw something in there too that really freaked her out. But it was just, that place was so haunted. I mean, people would come over to stay, right?
Right.
And in the morning we'd be eating breakfast and they'd look at us and they go, about the house, you mean it's haunted? And they go, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, yeah, Cash wasn't there all the time. Cash would go back to Idaho and he would come back here.
Can you blame me?
No, I cannot blame you.
Of course, he didn't realize that we realized that he was always coming back right when it was midterms up there. And it was always going back to Idaho right when it was finals. He would go back that way.
Hey, he's not foolish. I mean,
no, that's why he's one of the best real estate guys out. He can figure this stuff out.
Yeah. We can make it happen. We can work it out. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure this out.
Problem solve.
Yeah. So that was well, that's what I'm saying. This place was so weird. The old time big console TVs.
The ones that had the stereo too, or just the consoles?
Well, they were just a big wooden TV.
Yes.
And they didn't have.
It was a commitment to a TV. It's what it was.
Yeah, it was like a 4-man commitment to get it inside the house.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there again with Tubby, and the dial that we used to have, we didn't have back then. There wasn't any remote control, and I'm sitting there.
Well, he had y'all.
No, and I just looked over and I go, Tubby, you want to watch something else? Because it really sucked. And I looked over and I sat up and the thing goes click, 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 and changed to another channel while I'm watching it. I went, oh boy.
That's a little interesting.
Yeah. I'll tell you another one that got me was I went into and I got in the bathtub, right? And I'm sitting there and the window goes, right?
Really?
And I went, close the window.
You never told me that.
And it went, boom. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's so many things that happen there. It's just.
Yeah. Besides the nightmare that I had, the next scariest thing that happened to me was sleeping in my room when I finally got my room on the other side. And the sound that he's talking to you about, the breathing, his was a little stronger. Mine was more of a, well, picture this: laying in your bed, lights are off, it's quiet in the room. You're maybe starting to nod off a little bit, and you hear and you feel this on the side of your face. Just like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
And he did it to everybody.
And I got it a couple of times,
Yeah.
So that scared the crap out of me. Seeing the visions of the bodies walking, I forgot what you call them. What'd you call those?
Apparitions.
There we go. Seeing those a couple different times through the house in different areas. That was really scary. And then of course the nightmare I had. One thing I want to share with you about talking about real estate, going into some different houses through all the years, 16 years, I've seen a lot of different houses in the Valley, LA, Santa Clarita, all over the place, Idaho. Some houses, especially back in after like 2009, 2010, shortly after the foreclosure crisis we had.
Right. Yes.
Going into some of those homes where they had moved out, they're vacant. You might have squatters, sleeping in a closet or something, or some weird thing. You would go in and some of the houses would be okay. You wouldn't feel anything. Some of the houses you would feel hatred, anger, just this vibe, this energy, and it would just be strong, in the house.
Could it have been despair too? Despair.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Because you would see people that do crazy. They'd be angry at the house. They would pour cement down the toilets or in the sink, all kinds of crazy stuff.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Peel the copper. I mean, it's just bananas. But an interesting thing about disclosure with that. So death is a mandatory disclosure. If there was a death within 3 years of that home, you're supposed to disclose it. That's what sellers are supposed to disclose: death within the last 3 years in the house. After that, you don't have to. Why? I don't know. But that seems to be the cutoff.
Maybe they just figure if it's going to be haunted, it'll be haunted by then.
Right? Yeah, it was kind of interesting, right? Another thing is I had heard, and I looked it up, that there was a disclosure in for a short period of time in our California real estate contracts that you had to disclose also any paranormal activity.
Well, there's a lot. You have to do that in New York. You have to do that in Louisiana. There's a lot of places that's
the paranormal activity.
There.
Yeah.
But so did they take that out of the California one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to take a break because we've got a little bit of a late start, but we still have to stick to a schedule. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of business, and we will be back after this. Thank you so much for listening to Paranormal Experienced. I am Kat Hobson, and Cash and Rick McCallum are joining us, and they are going to be taking Vandy's load on them, even going into the next hour. So she's got a lot that she was going to share. We'll be right back.
Poor Vandy went out and bought a brand new camera and everything else.
I know.
Now she got the boot.
Which is terrible. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
I know she is too.
Well,
we'll do it again.
She had a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean,
she does have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, she's got a lot to share with that.
But we will be back right after this. Y'all come back too.
Unlock the mysteries of the spirit realm with the new book, Meeting Wallace. In this channeled work by renowned psychic medium Larry Costa, the reader will delve into the profound wisdom of his spirit guide, Wallace. Together, they share the transformative journey of harnessing psychic powers from the celestial plane. Discover the extraordinary psychic gifts that have empowered Larry on his path, and immerse yourself in a thought-provoking and awe-inspiring read. Meeting Wallace is a groundbreaking endeavor, and it is a perspective seen through the eyes of a spirit guide. Discover the wisdom of the spirit realm alongside actual photographs of ghosts and spirit guides. Get the book Meeting Wallace by Larry Costa at Amazon.com. Debbie Ziegelmeyer is an experienced diver, dive trainer, and UFO investigator who has researched sites around the world that have water-related UFO activity. We now know that even the Pentagon admits that there are unknown objects in the skies and underwater around the world. Debbie compiled an amazing book to catalog many of these sightings. The Alien Colonization of Earth's Waterways, a reference guide to UFO, USO, water-related activity, has received rave reviews by UFO researchers and the public. The book is available at Amazon.com.
While most near-death experiencers return to this plane of existence with alluring tales of their time spent in the presence of the divine, what happens when one crosses the veil into the afterlife, into the void? In the new book, Dying to Meet Them, Mindy Toutfest describes her journey to the afterlife after a devastating aneurysm, how a strange turn of events would lead her to spiritual growth, divine healing, UFO experiences, and a greater understanding of the universe. Get your copy of Dying to Meet Them today at Amazon.com or visit unxmedia.com for more information on this book and more amazing selections from Unex Media Publishing at unxmedia.com.
Welcome back to Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson. I am so glad that you are here. I am really having a great conversation. I'm just disappointed that one of our guests wasn't able to join us, and that is not her fault. That was technical issues. But I am joined by Rick and Cash McCallum. They are really fun people. If you got that first hour in, you have to know that these guys are not just your average Joes. They are so much fun and so, well, talented in their own fields. And Vandy Richards, who is their stepmother and who also lived in this amazingly haunted house in Texas, is who wasn't able to join us. And for that, I apologize to her. I hate that we couldn't make that work. But guys, thank you for being here. I am just really enjoying our conversation. I hope y'all are too. And we have got people over in chat. And Cash, I believe you know this guy, the Big Red Pig.
Do I know the Big Red Pig?
Yes.
No.
He says that you are cool. So I am very excited that we have chatters working because for whatever reason that comes and goes, right? But I think that the topics tonight are probably a big draw. They are for me. I love haunted conversations. So, Cash, we were talking about real estate disclosure when we went to break, and that is something that I was curious about. And so I'm glad you brought it up. You know, when, as I said, if you are in, like, especially in the quarter, but if you go out to the Lake Districts and some other places in the New Orleans area, the signs on the houses are, haunted, not haunted. It is not something that is left up to the realtor's discretion.
Interesting.
It is on the sign. And that is something that the first time I saw it, I was like, well, that sure is interesting. I didn't know they were doing that.
That's super interesting.
And then I saw it in New York. So, I mean, in the boroughs, they were several different places I saw those signs.
Was this a while back or recently?
It was in the 2010s in New York.
Okay.
And it's always every time I go to New Orleans.
Wow. That is really interesting.
I've never noticed it when I'm in Tennessee, but I was just curious. I see that you've gone Scottish on us up there, sir. So, with your cap.
This
old thing. Yes.
I thought I lost this. You know, a dear friend of mine had a 100-mile walk for St. Jude, and she pulled a hammy or something, like the day before.
My piriformis, I couldn't walk.
So I volunteered to do the 100 miles.
Yeah.
And it decided that it would be monsoon season
in February.
And yes. I mean, I think I swam half the way for that thing, but I lost my cap and I was so devastated. I could not find it. But after my apartment caved in and they brought everything
that
back,
was a cave in. That was horrible.
And I was digging everything out. I found my hat again. So
hackers packed it from wherever it was, or it just missed you and came back.
I got to tell you another thing about the house that I just remembered, which I wish Vandy was on to tell you about this. She showed up and I went out to get her stuff to carry it in the house, and I'm carrying it and she's got a handful and she goes, "Open the door," right? And the door opens.
I gotta say,
there, but the door opens up.
Yeah. From what I know from you and from both of you, from what I can take from this, is that if you were there as a spirit, you'd have opened that door too.
I mean, well, we're all afraid of Vandy. I mean, she's like,
I know she's so sweet and quiet. I mean, she's not quiet.
Well, you know my nickname
she's
for
awesome.
her, right?
I do.
Is my evil stepmother.
Yes. and I have had you bring that here a few times. So.
Or the Griff.
Not unusual.
The Griff is the other one.
And that was something I was going to say, because she asked
Heather
me
said she's listening tonight.
Oh, good.
And she said she was going to see if anything popped up.
Well, I would be interested because, that's one of the things that Vandy and I were talking about when we were getting ready for the show was, Heather Besser, who was on with me not too long ago, and with you, Rick. But, I was telling Vandy about how wonderful and interesting this woman was. And she said, the one that called me the Griff. I'm like, yeah. Did you know about that, Cash?
Yeah.
It was cool. I mean, weird, cool. But she did stuff like that at my house that blew me out of the water. I was so surprised because and none of the stuff that she brought out was on social media, which was very interesting. But she told me, she said, I won't be able to call people to you. I don't do that, but I can tell you who's around you. And Rick, I think I called you after, and I was just like, oh my word, this is the most bizarre thing. And, it was the same thing. Cash, you got to talk to this woman. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, she's freakily right. As a matter of fact, I forgot to tell you this, Kat. The first thing she said when I talked to her, and the first thing she goes, "Oh, by the way, your mother is here."
You did not forget to tell me that. That was one of the best things ever.
Mutter.
Now, Cash knows that was my mother's nickname, Mutter.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and always.
Yeah.
Always and forever.
Yeah. Hey, Mutter.
Mutter.
My mother liked Cash better than she liked me. It kind of ticked me off.
Oh, please. Everybody likes Cash more. No, I'm teasing.
Everybody does.
I'm teasing. I'm your bestie. I got to give you a hard time.
I will tell you something, though, about ghost hunting with Kat.
What?
I actually did see a full body apparition about 5 minutes after we walked into a building. If you remember that.
I do.
In Cool Ross.
I do.
Standing there, and this guy walks right by me, and I'm like,
and we were the only people. It was you, myself, Lori, and
crazy.
And oh, save me here.
Linda Whiteford.
Linda Whiteford. Yes, I could not remember her last name for anything, which is funny because I was just talking to her before we went on the air. But that place was astounding, Cash. Have you been out of the country?
Have I been out of the country? Yeah, a couple times.
Have you been to Europe?
Yes.
Well, have you been to Scotland?
No. Ireland.
You've got we're going next year. Nice. But you've got to go to Scotland with Rick.
That's what I keep hearing.
It was he has the ins and outs of the places. He's done this stuff there for a while. He interacts. I interact with spirit. I get called names sometimes, but I didn't there. But it was just so cool because Cool Rose is that a 1200s or 1100s castle?
I'm not sure. I think it's
12, the 1200s.
It's right around there, yeah.
And it's wood. And the woodworking, my husband owns a machining business. He's a machinist. And the woodwork would be hard pressed to be done now by machine. It's so well connected.
Interesting.
And there were domed places that we went that were also just wood that had been I can't imagine doing that without a machine. I don't even know. And it was bent.
Right.
I mean, the workmanship, the craftsmanship is just astounding in those places. And you don't have any idea how they managed to do that. So that's what Cool Rose was. Okay. And it was painted and stained on purpose. Stained.
How do you say that? Cool Rose, you said?
Cool Rose. CULROSS.
Okay. Cool Rose.
And it's waterfront. I mean, you could sell the daylights out of it if they let you, but it's
write my description now.
Right. It's waterfront. It's beautiful. It's just the most haunted. I feel like it's probably at least one of the most haunted places besides Balgony that we went. And the activity was very different than I had any other places. Wouldn't you say, Rick?
Yeah, well, I mean, seeing as I saw a full body apparition within 5 minutes, I would have to say it's kind of haunted.
and it's, I mean, it was when we were upstairs and the bed chambers and stuff. I mean, there was a lot of activity for me, there was a lot of activity up there. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, that's real cool. I will tell you something though, that you were there when this happened. We went into Airth Castle. And we were in this one bedroom where these two kids and the nanny died in a fire. And you talk about feeling like he got punched in the gut, right? I just said, this is for the nanny. I said, did you stay here to try and save the kids? And we hear on the recorder, yes. And I went, could you have gotten away? Yes. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
But one of the best things ever, she knows what I'm going to say.
I do know what you're going to say.
The guy that let us in was like 30 years old, and he was terrified of ghosts. He's a big guy, like 6'5".
And he had to work there by himself at night a lot.
Yeah, he would go into the castle, you know, and he didn't like it at all.
Because his bookkeeping office was there.
But we're all sitting there, and my friend Mikey Thompson, who's a great investigator,
and in chat,
had just, you know, asked a question, and he was just playing it back. And I'm standing at the door, and this guy opens the door to walk in, and he presses the button, and the recorder goes, "Get out!" And the guy goes, "Okay."
And he didn't even slow down, but he was like, "Oh, boom, okay."
He just booked right on it.
It was hilarious. It was tragic and hilarious.
Tragic and hilarious.
I mean, it really
tragically
was.
hilarious.
Tragically
you know what?
hilarious.
I get questions all the time about Scotland, and they'll say, "Well, what's haunted in Scotland?" I'll go, "Scotland.
What's not? Right?
The whole freaking place is haunted."
Well, if you consider the history,
yeah.
I mean, the violence, and I mean every land, all land, except maybe the poles, and I still don't know that that's not part of it too. But everywhere that humans go, we take violence. I mean, we are a violent species. It's a wonder they just stop in on occasion, right? Instead of coming in to save us from ourselves. But it's just so interesting because when you're at some place like that, then it's really, it drives it home. You know, we were, and Rick has been here. This was my first time. And when we were in Roslyn, we went down to Roslyn Castle that I didn't even know was a castle at the time. I had no idea what I was looking at. It was just bizarre. But the stables, also bricks that were done just the way that wood was. The stables were beautiful arches that were bricked, and it was just astounding. But anyway, you could feel the energy. I was so blown away. We went through cemeteries where the old one, a lot of people, in fact, Lori and other people found family names in there and stuff. But what got me was when we got to where, because I'm always touched by places with animals, and it was so wild to me. I mean, there was a creek or a stream running behind it. You could hear it. And I just went behind the stables and was just kind of meditating a little bit and, getting my groove on with that. But the whole place, you can feel the anger. You can feel the despair sometimes. You can feel the romance of the land too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's happening there. And to me, that's just something that I was not anticipating. I've been to Gettysburg, but I figured that Gettysburg was a one-off because of that violence, right? It didn't occur to me that it was going to be all violence and all emotion and stuff. So, yeah, when you're going in those houses and you're feeling that, that's the real deal. So that was a long way to go to get to that. I'm sorry.
Well, it's funny. You're talking about bringing violence to one guy over here has killed about maybe 30 to 50 people in movies, and another guy who beat people senseless for a living.
For fun. Just trying not to have them do it to you, right?
I got paid for it too, which was nice.
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah, and he got bopped on the nugget a few times.
I did get a few nugget bops, yes.
Yes, but he stayed upright, so that was all good.
Upright is what they count.
Mostly.
Do they count like the times that you actually make contact, or do they just do last man standing?
No, great question. Yeah, they do. They count the contact, jabs or full body punches and things of that nature. Yeah.
When you're kickboxing, how do they not dodge your kicks or catch your leg?
How do they not dodge my kicks?
Or catch your leg and inflict damage on you?
Well, that's happened. I mean, yeah, they do.
I have to throw in a quick story here about this because this will say something about Cash. My old roommate Roger was one of the bouncers in the movie Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And he's a big muscular guy.
And he has great taste in women.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, he's a big guy, and he used to be a Golden Gloves boxer, and he played football at Missouri and everything else. So one day, Cash and I were going to kick the bag, around, and he says, "Well, I want to come." So he comes over to the football field that we're at.
I want to go.
And I gave him the shield, the kicking shield. I said, Cash, go easy on him. Do it about halfway, right? And he's used to this because he did martial arts and stuff. And Cash goes about halfway with the kick, and it goes, boom! And he just looks at me, and he did it halfway. Cash can kick like a damn mule, right? And he just takes the kick pad, and he looks at me, and he just goes, boom. Turned around and walked away.
Just walk off.
He just said, "See ya," and he turned around, got in his car, and drove away.
Yeah, Roger's a funny guy, though. He's a crack up.
So what I'm saying is, there weren't a lot of guys that tried to catch his kicks.
Right.
That would have been a bad idea.
That is true.
That's just fascinating, though, because I've never fought. Well, once, and I won.
Yeah.
But
Tell us about that story. Come on, we want to hear about the one fight.
The one fight.
Who started it?
My best friend.
Because Who started it?
Well, aren't you more interested in who finished it?
Wow.
Cash, now do you see why we're friends?
Well, I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
She wanted my date and my ticket to the Doobie Brothers Pablo Cruz concert.
Oh, fights on.
Was not happening. And then she called her mother a name. And her mother was my go-to safe place. So that was not
that deserves.
It was justified. It was justified, and I won.
Nice.
In Scotland,
undefeated.
There was almost a second bout in Stirling Castle.
That's true, but that was also something that would have been necessary if I weren't afraid of creating an international incident and being in a Scottish jail. But it would have been worth it.
Yeah, this lady came up and got in Kat's face, and that didn't turn out well.
Didn't work out too good. Huh?
Well, she and her husband both were tag teaming Rick. And I just kind of glanced over, and I was like, oh, that doesn't look pleasant. So I walked over there, and I was, like tennis match, right?
I had my hench person with me.
So she looked at me, and she was like, this is between my ambassador and myself. I'll thank you to leave. And I was like, I don't think so. I paid a lot of money to be here. I'm going to listen to this.
There you go.
And she was like, well, I've spent more money than you. And I'm like, well, that's not my problem.
Right.
And but she stomped at me.
She stomped at you?
She stomped at me.
What does that mean? Stomped at you?
Like the fake step.
She threw a fake at you a little bit.
Yeah, I did. No.
Pump fake.
I didn't leave.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, but the other person did. At least she had smart enough time to go away.
Skedaddle.
But the best part is neither of us knew that there was a third person behind us that had both our backs. We just never saw him.
Mikey was back there too.
Yeah, Mikey was monitoring the situation.
You see?
So
her husband came up afterwards, and he was going to be
not
tough
mine,
guy.
hers.
Yeah, her husband comes up, and he's going to be a tough guy with me, and I just went.
He stomped at Rick.
Yeah, just move along. We're done here.
Oh boy!
So,
talk about a fool. And I always say I can in no way recommend that tour company, but I can absolutely recommend Scotland.
Okay.
See, now I got to tell you, Cash, this is how much that Kat knows me. I always said everybody should have a key phrase after they die that people will automatically know what you're saying it.
Yeah.
Right. What is mine?
What's your
water pitcher?
Water pitcher.
Water pitcher.
Water pitcher. Because he's always making tea. When I talk to him, he's always afraid I'm going to think he's doing something else.
Water.
Yeah, because all you hear is, and I'm like, water pitcher.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had those sounds. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So water pitcher. So, but wouldn't it be a great idea if we could actually get back into that house with equipment and see what we can find? I mean, if they're still there, that would be just a phenomenal. Jay Bloomkey, Make it happen.
Absolutely. I would come to Texas for that.
I would come to Texas for that.
But, one of the things that you didn't say, Rick, is that we had the same friend that had our back in Scotland checked out the structure recently.
Which structure?
The Texas structure.
You mean our house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
but
there's been
still
two people
creepy
went there.
from
There
the
was
outside.
Oh, yeah. It's creepy on the outside?
On the outside.
Yeah. Another girl that I know named Dawn, who's from Wisconsin, and she lives in Texas some of the time. She went over and took pictures of the house for me. So, and it looks pretty much the same. The roof's different, a little different. It's like got a metal roof now. It didn't used to. But yeah, that place was just, it's hard to explain. I mean, even nothing was happening, you knew something was happening. You knew you weren't sitting there by yourself.
So just like you could always feel the energy.
Oh yeah, all the
which
time.
is what you were told you should be afraid of.
Yeah, well, I wasn't afraid of it.
I know.
I'm too old. I'm going to die soon. I ain't afraid of much. It's like running around.
I know what you're afraid of.
Yes, women.
Yeah.
Women.
Oh, I run away like a scalded dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have met some of the girls I've gone out with, Cash. Should I not be running?
Maybe one or two, but some of them were pretty nice. I mean, I don't know. You kind of let.
He ran anyway, right?
Huh?
I still ran away. Yeah.
Yeah, still ran away from a couple he probably shouldn't have. Yeah, but one or two, yeah, made sense. Yes. But
well, when somebody's going to do you in, that's probably one you want to avoid.
Yeah,
I would avoid that.
I was going to say I don't have anything to compare to, Kat, as far as living in haunted houses, except for the one I lived in. And that place is super scary, super crazy. I mean, I don't know about the Conjuring house. I don't know about, the Amityville Horror House and all those things. Those look really scary too. But I do know that the one I lived in was real, and it was real scary.
That's what I was going to mention is that, I know Rick and his integrity, and I know that you were raised that way too.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I never would hesitate to have this conversation with y'all. Right. And of course, Vandy's integrity is just impeccable.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons I don't talk to people about their haunted home very often. Mm-hmm. I'll talk to people that do what we do or that have some other, reason, but the old potting jail, I know the owner of, and I know her ethics. And this house, I know y'all, and I know your ethics. So I don't hesitate to have this conversation. I have talked to people who grew up in both of those houses that you mentioned.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't know if they're still that haunted now, or, because I don't know anybody that's lived in there since, right? Both of them still have activity reported.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just going to say that the Rathmans are represented saying multiple McCallums. That's trouble.
So, unless you're asking for backup, then it helps.
Somebody knows that well.
Yeah,
they know me that well.
They know him that well, and they just assume that you are, the same guy, basically.
Well, in a
lot of ways, I think you are.
Cash was the heavyweight kickboxing champion,
but
he was also ranked 13th in the world as a light heavyweight,
cruiserweight,
as a boxer.
Really?
Junior heavyweight, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Boxing is definitely an art too.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a pro boxer and a pro kickboxer, and he retired undefeated from both of them.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
Yeah.
How long did you fight?
Almost about 9 to 10 years between the two.
Until it was over.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rick. But really, that's a long time to do that for a living.
Yeah, it was a long time. I was out a little bit here and there for injuries. I got injured quite a bit. And then that was why I actually ultimately hung up the gloves at the end there.
I could see that.
Yeah. Surgeries, no surgeries. It's an ugly business, the fight business. I wish I was in it today because these guys are driving Lamborghinis and making millions of dollars and having a couple fights here and there. You know, they get to choke somebody out and call it a day. You know, back then we had to beat people up really bad. But I can't take anything away from the guys today. They're really quite a extraordinary athlete today. A lot of these guys.
And it's more science. There's more science. There's more science on how to do that.
Yeah.
You know, they fight with more technical knowledge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
lots behind the training and everything.
The kinesiology stuff alone.
I will say something, but I'm not going to say any names. There's this one very large MMA guy who had a bad attitude, and Cash and him went to the same gym. And he started calling Cash out, and he had a little posse and everything else. And he says, "Yeah, come on, you want me to come up there and show you some stuff?" Cash's like, "Sure." So he got up there, and it didn't go well. So he jumped out of the ring, and he says, "Next time I'm coming, I'm going to, do all this stuff to you."
So bring you and your friends in the ring.
So he brought his posse and everything else over there, and Cash is sitting there, and they jumped in, and they were going to wrestle and stuff. And didn't you throw him out of the ring?
No, but
wow.
Just on the ground, yeah, just threw him on the in the ring, but threw him in the ring, yeah.
Do you get in trouble if you throw him out of the ring?
Well, it wasn't a fight. It was just two guys in the gym going at it. So,
well, I mean, I've known wrestlers. I was just curious.
Yeah. Wrestlers are a different breed.
Oh, yes, they are.
Well, I know that for sure. I had a wrestler as a roommate for 4 years, a little psycho bugger.
Yep.
No, that was his nickname, Psycho.
I know.
Yeah.
Kat, remember the old Pink Panther things like with Kato, where you jump out of the refrigerator?
I do.
That was Psycho. He would jump off the roof on you, out of the trunk of your car.
You lived with him.
Yeah, he was my best friend back in college.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hence Psycho.
Well, nobody else.
But did he really jump out of things at you?
Oh, he would jump out of the closet. He'd take you down in the middle of the cafeteria. I mean, it didn't make any difference.
Just as long as you're having fun, man.
Yeah, splat.
No judgment.
Flying El Squasho. I mean,
flying El Squasho.
While you're walking.
Those are fun.
Yes.
Unless you're the one being squashed.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to be the squasho.
That's never the good one.
So I want to get back to these houses, Cash, on your side. Because, Rick, you know that we walk into a place and we can pretty much tell what we're walking into. Cash, when you said that you feel the energies, when you feel like the house has emotion, do you feel like it's like it is the property that's maybe been scarred by whoever's been there? We'll be here.
Do I feel that the property was scarred?
Yeah, like the whatever you're feeling is property based.
Right. That's a great question, Kat. Possibly. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's just I pick up a feeling, and I've never really gone to identify it like that. Like, was it the property, or was it something in the property that was still there, still lingering around? Right. I just noticed there was a bad energy. It was an uncomfortable energy. Maybe it wasn't even that bad, but to me, it was uncomfortable. And I've walked into some vacant, foreclosed on homes, and some of them were just fine. Absolutely just fine. Even though they looked a little beat up or whatever the case might be, because it was a distressed owner in the property. But some I walked in, a couple, not a lot, but a couple I walked in, I was like, wow, you could feel an energy here that's just not cool,
I found that when I go to places that have not just a sordid history, but I've gone into friends' homes where there was somebody that was drug usage or alcoholism. I know that y'all are familiar with that, but it's really
how do you mean that we're familiar with drug and alcoholism?
Well, I mean, not personal, okay?
All right. Yeah.
But
how about a class? Yes.
Yeah. But But I mean, everybody has somebody in their life who has that issue.
Yeah.
And so, or most people, we come across it. We live with it. We love somebody with it. We have friends that we watch, drown in it sometimes, and it doesn't lessen the care and concern for them.
Right.
But it is something that you recognize. And a lot of times I feel like places that I've been, friends' homes that I've been in, that I know a struggle was going on.
Yeah.
It seems to be stronger.
Really?
As a result of that. Yeah. So maybe what you're getting is not just the anger and stuff from repossession or bankruptcy. Maybe it's not just spirit there, but it's energy signatures that are left behind from the living.
Trauma.
That happens, I think.
Trauma.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah. A little bit of trauma going on in there.
It happens.
It does. I wanted to jump in here and tell you about when you were talking about Rosalind.
Right.
About how haunted it is and stuff like that. And one of the scariest things ever happened to me at Rosalind. I know I told everybody on the tour, but I don't know if I know the people here don't know about it. I was walking out of the chapel, and as I'm walking along, there were two older ladies walking along, which is hard to believe there's anybody older than me. But I walked by them and I said, "Afternoon, ladies." And I'm walking ahead, and I'm over. Do you remember the yellow building?
I did.
And then the way you went down below. I'm walking along and I'm looking at the thing and I'm reading about Robert Burns being there. And I look over there and I turn around. Now, for anybody who's never been there, as you're walking out, there's two hedges that are probably 200 yards long that go right to the city. There's nothing else. There's parking on either side, but there's nothing in the middle. And I'm walking along, and all of a sudden, in front of me, like maybe 10 yards, maybe, I hear the most unbelievable deep. It was like, and I mean, I froze because I thought it was like an attack dog. So I'm just sitting like this, and I turn my head back, and I'm looking around, and there's nothing there, right? So being the investigator type in me, I ran and looked in both the parking areas, nobody there. And then I looked down the way, and there's nobody down there either. So I'm just standing there going, man, am I having like a brain aneurysm or something? Because that was freaky. And the two ladies walk up, and they look at me, and they go, "We heard it too." Oh, right? So, but here's the deal. I had to walk 8 miles back to this house. I was staying at this lady's house who was wonderful to let me stay in her house while she was in England.
Yeah.
And I was really shaken up by this because anybody that does enough ghost hunting knows when you hear something like that, it has a chance of being something demonic. Right. So I was really kind of thrown off. So I get down and I'm standing just like 1 block from where I'm going to go. And I'm waiting for the light to change. And I just looked up and I went, you know what? I think I could use some help with this. Right now, this is what happened at Rosalind. And I looked down on the ground after I said that. And this is what I saw.
Yeah. I hope that all of y'all can see, make that out. Put it closer, Rick.
Oh, I just closed it.
Oh, that's all right.
I'll find it. But yeah, that was so cool. I looked down and there it is. I'm like, whoa.
Well, when I was making your video, I thought that was actually something behind you at first.
No, it was actually something that was the shadow on the ground.
And but I knew you have things show up that you need often. And, I think, did you tell people what was actually behind you?
Where?
When you took that picture?
There was nothing behind me.
Nope.
There was nothing there.
That's what blew me away the most when you were sharing that with me, because Cash, I thought that was just actually, there you go. Thank you, Rick. See?
My shadow. Yeah. How about that?
And there was nothing behind him. Thank you, Rick.
And if you happen to notice, if you look up, you can see the bird.
Yeah.
just like on the regular.
Yeah.
crucifix.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So that started at Rosslyn. That's why I wanted to jump in there when you said you could feel Rosslyn. It's like, yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, and well, that was the area. Everything there, Cash, is so old. There've been battles. Rick, I would guess probably everywhere.
Well, yeah, especially right around Rosslyn. You
Yeah.
know, the biggest battle in Scottish and English history was in Rosslyn.
Yeah.
And it's the Battle of Rosslyn 1303. And I mean, there was, you know, there's conflicting reports, but most of them say William Wallace was involved in the brawl.
Yeah.
Other people say that the Knights Templar showed up because they were after the Sinclairs, and the Sinclairs were like the heads of the Knights Templar at the time. They were very high up. And 8,000 Scotsmen just obliterated 30,000 Englishmen. I mean, they said it was the bloodiest war in history. But, you know, when you got 30,000 guys and 8,000 people, matter of fact, the saying out there is the only English who lived were the really fast ones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just a massacre. And 8,000 guys against 30,000. It's hard to believe they won. But
Especially when you know how the English would have been armed.
Yeah. Well, the English would have been much better armed. You know what people don't realize about Scotland? They didn't have armies. Right?
Yeah,
clans. I mean, they like Robert the Bruce had an army and stuff like that, but they weren't like conscripted armies. If I know, I mean, they're like guys show up to be in the army, right?
Guys show up for the battles.
Yeah. So, I mean, Scottish people are the scrappiest people you'll ever meet in your life. Yeah. And they're arguably the nicest.
I would second that.
Yeah. I figure if you went back to Scotland, you were wondering where to find a place where, you know, there were some fights at, just go to any donut shop. If for anyone in our family, that's where we'd have some history there.
Yeah. And they have Krispy Kreme.
They do have Krispy Kreme there.
Yes. And I was not the least bit excited by that, was I, Rick?
No.
So
I thought I was going to have to call David to get a net and coming over.
Wait a minute. Is this another story of a brawl somewhere? What's going on with you guys?
No, I never even got to see them.
She saw a Krispy Kreme sign.
I did not. They had them in the Salisbury.
Yeah, and they also had an entire store right next to.
Well, but I didn't get to see the hotel. See? I didn't get to see the Krispy Kreme.
See, donuts will bring that out in us.
Well, I'm from Alabama, and that's where they started. The people that own it live down in South Alabama.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so, yeah, and you know, I'm just like, and they're closing all of the ones in Birmingham. I think there's one left, but so if you fly through Atlanta Hartsfield, they have one in Sea Concourse.
Okay.
So, but they're pre-made. They bring them to you. Okay. But anyway, I digress. So,
anytime you can sneak a good Krispy Kreme thing in, Cat's happy.
Hey, I'm Southern. It's what we do.
That's what we do.
So
that's awesome.
See, I just figured out what her thing is going to be for when she passes away. From mine's water pitcher. Hers is going to be banana ice cream.
Banana ice cream.
Oh my gosh. I embarrassed myself in Scotland because I ordered a dessert that I did not really anticipate being the heaven in your mouth that it was. We were in my first pub. It was a pub, right, Rick?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but they had like teapots and cups on the counter behind them. So you could get a pot of tea. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So anyway, because we were getting lunch, but when we finished lunch, which was delicious and delightful, we were going to order a little dessert, and I saw ice cream. I was like, "Oh, banana ice cream. Yeah, I want that." Yeah. And Rick said, "If a woman would just look at me like that." So it was really good.
I mean, there were like harps playing and
angels
flapping around.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. Tell them what happened as we were on our way there, if you recall.
Oh, I know what happened when we left there.
He
was levitated by the Scots.
I was actually levitated.
You told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was so fun because I was like, mean, I'm watching him, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my God, he's going to hit his head. Oh my God, I can't get to him. I was coming off a tibial plateau fracture, right? I was just like, oh my God, I can't help.
Right. Wow.
And so, but he didn't. He didn't even lose his hat.
How about that?
He caught the hat. He rolled into the hat and got himself, didn't hit his head because he knows how to fall.
Yes, knows how to fall well. Yes.
And so all these people, because it was at the bottom of Princess Street, right before the castle.
Yeah.
And all these people, it was such a beautiful time while we were there. Yeah, people were sitting outside, and men, women, child, everybody leapt to their feet to get him because he hit a pylon and it caught him below his knee, so it messed him up.
Oh,
Couldn't
Right
get
over
the
the front
balance
of
thing
him,
right.
Boom.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
No, it was so funny. I hit the thing. I go splat, and I started lifting off the ground. I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" And like every person
had him.
had a piece of me lifted.
They had him. They were getting him back up.
Getting him
And they
back
were like,
up.
"Oh, sir. Oh,
Those
sir."
Scottish people. Another American's biting the dust. We better help him out.
The only problem I have with that story, Kat, that you were telling when you guys sat down for a little dessert,
Yeah.
little and dessert just don't go together with Rick. I've never heard
True that.
dessert, right?
I didn't have any dessert in there. Actually.
You did not. That's because it was
Tillamook.
It was not Tillamook.
Yeah.
But Lori got I don't remember what she was, a pastry of some type. I can't eat pastry, so they had ice cream, and it was truly something else.
Truly a treat.
Yeah.
Rick, didn't you eat so many hamburgers at one place? They've got a McCallum burger named there.
Yes.
Yes, actually, it's true. It's actually the place just closed down. I guess too many people ate the burger. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, Allie just closed his restaurant.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So
because of the McCallum burger.
I'm actually in his book. He wrote a cookbook.
Yeah.
And I'm the second person in there under the McCallum burger. And he brought out this burger like this big, and I'm not kidding. I had to take half of it apart, put it back together, eat it, and then pick it up, and eat the other half. And I'm like, oh my God.
Was that anything like the McCallum burger?
That was the McCallum burger.
Oh.
There are no McCallum burgers. The whole family fights over how our name is pronounced.
Well, that's not a problem here because I have been trained. I know better.
Well, our name is taken from Saint Columba, not Saint Columba. Okay, Columba.
I do get that.
Like
McCallum.
And I
Columba.
do not get it wrong.
Yes.
I think I did once, and I was seriously chastised.
You know who chastises people when they come up? We'll be on the set. People go, "Are you Rick McCallum?" McCallum. I mean, Kane will just automatically just.
Well, that's because Kane will always have your back.
I'm afraid to have him behind me half the time.
I understand that.
I told
I do
somebody one
understand
time.
that.
They asked me this. So, what's it like ghost hunting with Kane and RA? I said, well, you're in a big abandoned hospital, and you're walking down this dark hallway, or you're in a tunnel and you're walking along, and then you realize the guys walking behind you are Jason Voorhees and the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And you're thinking, well, I'm protected from behind, or this really isn't going to end well for me.
Or am I?
Yeah. Let's see.
What was that little dance you had there? What was that?
That was just a little dance.
That's how the three of them walk together.
Yeah.
Diddly diddly dee.
Oh, don't start that.
Big macho guys.
Yes. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan.
I'll never get past that.
A friend of ours, Ryan O'Neill, who's on the show Haunted Scotland and whatever they've changed it this week. They keep changing the title.
Haunted Ireland too.
Yeah. We're driving along going to Ireland, and he's in the back seat talking, and he's got such a hard Scottish accent.
He does have a hard Scottish accent.
I just turned around and said, "Will you speak English?" Right? So he
There was
just
an
started going.
expletive in there too.
He just started going, "Diddly diddly dee, diddly diddly do, diddly diddly dee." Shut up!
Shut up in your face.
Go
Hey,
back.
Because as you well know, Because as you well know, Cash, because he's your big brother, he's really fun to mess with.
He is. Yeah, he is. We've always had a good time together.
Absolutely.
We've done a lot of traveling together. I haven't traveled with him with ghost hunting, but we traveled home shows for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Got to do all that. That was fun. A lot of fun. I was going to ask you, Kat, I'm in Idaho up by Boise. I don't ever hear anybody talking about Idaho with paranormal so much, you know?
It's cold.
Idaho is such a classic. Idaho is such a crappy state. Even the ghost moves out.
It is not a crappy state. It's beautiful. I like the red rock.
How would you like to have to tell everybody Idaho? Okay.
I have a story about that. I told you that, right?
No.
About my friend that moved there, or my acquaintance that moved there. And she was standing in front of the Idaho sign and took a picture. I was like, truth in advertising. So.
Oh boy, how about that? I'll tell you though, I did go to the Boise prison. They have an old Boise prison, and it's really cool. It's all, made of rocks and all these things, from way, 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 way back. And you could go tour it. But they have a ghost tour night once a year, I think. And then you could actually pay to sleep the night in the prison. And they give you a little cell. But when my wife and I walked through this place, my wife can pick up on things as well. And she was like, oh my God, there's a lot of nasty stuff.
Your wife is way too good for you.
Don't let her know that, man.
Now he said it on the air. What are we going to do?
Erase you.
You really overachieved on this one.
I did well. Yes. But you could go pay $100. I think it is. They'll serve you dinner. You can sleep the night in one of the cells, and the cells are so small. Oh my God. You would not want to be in prison back then. Today, I don't know. They get condos or something, but back then they put two guys in one little tiny, and they're made of like little leather straps. It was creepy.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I did not realize that. We go to Vegas, and David plays poker, my husband, David. And so I'm just wandering, I go all the places, do all the things. And I have not made it all the way to Idaho by myself because that's a long drive.
It's a long drive. It's a good 8 to 10 hours, depending where you're going.
Yes. But we came up there. We were on our way to,
Montana.
No, we were on our way to
South Dakota.
The Horseshoe Bend place that has the Antelope Canyon, because I'm a photographer and I wanted to go and shoot in Antelope Canyon.
Oh, okay.
And so we actually wound up in Idaho, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was Utah. I think it was Idaho for like a very short part of our journey.
Right.
We may have been lost. I don't know, but it was so pretty.
You guys are having fun driving around, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Idaho and Utah are kind of similar a little bit.
Well, which one would that have been, Cash? That's right there.
With Horseshoe Bend?
Yeah.
Idaho. I believe you're talking about Idaho.
Okay. Because it was very red rock through there.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Well, that could be parts of Utah too. Parts of Utah is real pretty as well.
Well, I think it was Utah.
I've been to Idaho.
In retrospect.
I stand corrected.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City is Utah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to Idaho one time.
Sorry, that's completely off the chain.
And I was taking Cash and Elizabeth to go see a movie, and it was snowing and icy and stuff. And I hit some ice and the car spun around. We went flying off the road. Yeah. Fortunately, a bunch of people came by and pulled us out. But you want to hear what a small world it was? The movie that we were going to see was directed by Buddy Van Horn.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Clint Eastwood. That was a Clint Eastwood one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Buddy directed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It was the best movie of all time.
Now I got another picture for you guys. Just
potato chip.
This is the dog that tried to eat Cash.
Yeah.
Is that Tubby?
That's Tubby.
I love Tubby.
Well, thank
Not
you.
because he tried to eat you, Cash.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate that.
I just think he was a beautiful dog.
Beautiful dog.
So
he was
thoroughbred.
He was a freaking moose. You know what? Cash and I used to wrestle with him, right? We could not get that dog off his feet. Remember that, Cash? He was so strong, you couldn't get him down. But he would play wrestle with you, and whoever was on the bottom, he would bite them. So it was like a little extra, incentive not to be the one on the bottom.
Right. Yeah.
Great Dane was going to bite you.
And Race just shared Horseshoe Bend.
I just found.
Thank you.
I did a brief 2-year stint in Utah, so that name clicked off on me, and I was like, wait a minute, I think that's in Utah. That's not in Dakota. And so I just ran and looked real quick, and it's a big horseshoe in the river.
It's beautiful. It's a Colorado River
down there by St. George. It's down on that end of the state, down in the southern part towards Arizona. Yeah. And it looks like another planet, to be honest.
It does.
Yeah. St. George real pretty. All that whole area is. But we have a Horseshoe Bend Canyon, I believe it is in Idaho too.
I thought you did. That's where I got confused, I think.
The horseshoe thing gets thrown around a little bit around here.
Well, I was David decided that we were not going to raft that down into the Grand Canyon, so we didn't have time. You're always with Tom.
You married a smart man.
I did marry a smart man.
There you go.
Which is good.
That is good.
So, well, that was scary as I come at you. But my chair keeps sliding back. But I am just so fascinated that you guys turned out as quasi normal as you are. So,
that was hard to say, wasn't it, Kat?
Yeah. But y'all had so many experiences. You've grown up with some fantastic, travel opportunities, and you've both come through doing all this stuff, and you are so good individually at what you do. And the work ethic for both of you is there, and the personality and the fun and the love for life in both of you is there. And so I didn't know, Cash, what I was going to get when we started talking hauntings, and this is our first time to talk.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you came. I hate that Vandy's stuff didn't work.
Yeah.
But I am having her back.
Okay, cool, yeah.
We're going to do this with her.
She did have a lot of the stuff happen to her.
I know. And I just think that I'm so fortunate, Rick, I'm so fortunate that you're such a good friend. And Cash, I think that y'all are so fortunate to have each other.
Yeah.
And that I'm really glad to get to actually meet you. I've heard about you so much. I feel like I know you. And, it's just really been so fantastic.
You feel you know me and you're still talking to me. That's
I know, right?
Well, that's because most of what I told her was lies.
Such a brother.
I wanted her to like you, so I lied a lot.
Such a brother.
Well, likewise, Kat, I heard a lot about you too, so I'm happy that we got a chance to connect and chat for a while.
I know that where y'all lived was so crazy haunted, and I know that there's so many things, and we've only got maybe 3 or 4 minutes left. Rick, can you tell me about Cash in the Lake? Can you tell our listeners about Cash in the Lake?
Cash in the Lake?
The lake?
Oh, yeah.
You have to do it quick, though.
When Cash was about 2 years old, when we lived in Oregon, there was this big wooden raft that my dad and the other fathers had made for all the kids to be able to play on. Well, Cash's mom was a really good swimmer, and she decided that she was going to take Cash, and Cash was about 2 years old. She was going to swim out to the raft. Well, there were 2 dogs there that were part Great Dane and part, German Shepherd. And they were Major and Baron, and these were big, hairy dogs. And his mother is swimming with him. Like I said, she's a good swimmer. And the dogs decided to swim out there, and they weren't very good swimmers. So they went to the closest landmass, which happened to be him and his mother. And they just started going crazy trying to, get purchased so they don't sink. And they knocked Cash loose. And his mother's screaming. I'm over on the she's still fighting the dogs off, right? And I'm standing on the thing, and I went, I probably ought to go see if I can't find him because he sunk like a rock.
Yeah, I sink like a rock.
But the funniest thing, I'll never forget this. I mean, to the day I die, I'll never forget this because he had on a diaper, right? And I'm swimming as hard as I can, and I'm just about ready to give up because I'm swimming and swimming and swimming. I look down, and I see a white spot, and so I keep going. I look down, and he's sitting on the bottom like Buddha, like this. And he is the most chilled out human on the planet. He's just sitting there, right? And I'll never forget this. Babies do this when they want you to pick them up.
Yeah.
He looks up at me and he goes, so I go down and scoop him up and up we go. But I was like, I'll never forget that. Just sitting there like, baby down, a little help.
And that to me is a large part of how y'all's relationship seems. You got an issue, gonna handle it. If you had an issue, he'd go get you. I mean, it's just really cool. Even growing up in, one of the most haunted places I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah.
Y'all are the men that you are. And
we've had some pretty interesting things. I mean, that happened like in Puerto Rico and all these other places.
So, a lot of stories.
Well, we will talk about those again, but we are out of time, and I've got.
Oh no, we will not, because most of these will end up with matching bracelets,
friendship bracelets. But coming up behind us though is Clyde Lewis, so everybody's going to want to tune in for that. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I appreciate you more than you know.
Thank you.
Love your shirt.
Why, thank you. So for everybody listening. Appreciate you too. Thanks to everybody in chat. And we are going to have to go, but y'all are getting kudos, guys, out of the chat. So I think it was a great show too. Thank you. Good night.